going on, everybody? Welcome to Truth Addiction. This is the channel that deals with the disease of addiction and all the ways it manifests itself. I am a recovering addict. My name is Brian. I suffer from a disease which is incurable, progressive, and unfortunately, it's sometimes fatal. It can, however, be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible. So I'm just trying to figure out how's everybody doing out there today, right? Hope all is well. I'm pretty good over here. It's a pretty nice day out. I mean, I don't got everything I want, but I got everything I need. And come to think about it, I probably don't need everything that I want. You know what I'm saying? Today is going to be part 2 of this 12-part series I'm doing, which represents the 12 steps of a recovery program. Mine happens to be Narcotics Anonymous. It's the one I chose. There are a lot of them. There's all kinds of anonymous 12-step programs containing very good spiritual principles to live by and to help you stay clean from your particular addiction. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of addictions. I just want to put this out there as like a disclaimer. I am in no way, shape, or form promoting Narcotics Anonymous as the only way to go to stay clean, because there's a lot of great anonymous programs. It just happens to be the one I chose. And for this addict, I believe 100% that not only is it the best way for an addict to stay clean or sober, not only is that the best way for us to stay clean and sober, it is, my opinion, the only way. A 12-step program is so powerful to somebody with the disease of addiction, it ain't even funny. That's just my opinion. But I will say this. Narcotics Anonymous is not the only way. You know, I made a reference in the video previous to this. It's about us learning what makes us tick and why we do the things we do in the first place. Why we use the things, why did we use drugs in the first place? Why did we seek comfort in an addiction when life shows up? And that's what it's all about. So I made a reference that I 100% believe, even let's say as a heroin addict, I could have joined something like Overeaters Anonymous. And if I would have put the work in and got a sponsor in that particular program and worked the 12 steps, because they're all the same. All 12 steps are the same in every 12-step program you go to. The only thing that differs is what's said in the first step. Words interchange. I'll put it out there again. Alcoholics Anonymous, it says, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our lives become unmanageable. Cocaine Anonymous, we admitted we were powerless over cocaine and our life has become unmanageable. And in my particular program, which is Narcotics Anonymous, it just focuses on the addiction, whatever the addiction is. And our first step reads, we admitted we were powerless over our addiction and our lives become unmanageable. But other than that, all the rest of the steps are the same. You get the point. Today, we're going to get into step 2. As the title says, insane in the brain. The disease of addiction has a lot of insanity, bro. There's a lot of insanity to this shit, right? So without further ado, let's get right in. I'm going to read step 2, and along the way, I'm going to pause reading and, you know, just give you my experience and my take on what I just read, right? And maybe you can relate. And if you can, you know, leave a comment and tell me what you think about certain parts of this step, right? So let's go. Step 2. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. The second step is necessary if we expect to achieve ongoing recovery. The first step leaves us with a need to believe in something that can help us with our powerlessness, uselessness, and helplessness. The first step has left a vacuum in our lives. We need to find something to fill that void. This is the purpose of the second step. So here's the deal, right? You come in and then you work a first step, which is we admitted we were powerless over our addiction and our lives become unmanageable, right? And it does leave a void because now you're sitting there and you go, okay, I admit it. I admit to the fact that I cannot remain clean on my own, right? On my own, I am powerless over this. No matter how much I want to apply willpower to this, right? I can only stay clean so long because eventually I just go back to using, right? So you admit that. Some would say you accept that. I think there's a difference, a big difference between admitting something and actually accepting it. You know what I mean? Acceptance is like a deeper level to what you are admitting to, right? And that our lives have become unmanageable because of the drug use or because of the way we're living and how we react to life, right? So you're sitting there and it's kind of like, okay, I admit it. I have a problem. I can't stay clean on my own. I need some help. If I'm powerless, I guess I need to find some kind of power, you know, to plug into. You know what I'm saying? So you're kind of left with a void because you have finally, which is so hard for a lot of us, to actually, it's easy for us to admit that we've been having a drug problem, right? Because it's easy to see. There's certain things. People ain't trying to be around us no more. We're losing jobs. You know, we're getting arrested. All that crazy shit that comes with it. That's easy to see. But what's not easy to see is the fact that, like, wait a minute. Maybe there's more to it than just the drugs, right? Or the person, place, or thing that I'm addicted to, right? So you're left with that, and now you come to this conclusion, okay, I know I need help, right? So if I'm powerless, I need to find some kind of power to help me. And that's where we come to step two. Because we realize we've been acting a little insane. Really, we're a little crazy. We're fucked up, right? So we need the power, and that's what that's talking about right there. So then we get into this. Some of us didn't take this step seriously at first. We passed over it with a minimum of concern, only to find the next steps would not work until we worked step two. Even when we admitted that we needed help with our drug problem, many of us would not admit to the need for faith and sanity. Right? So you come to this conclusion, hey, I got a problem, right? I need to stop. And then what happens is, like, you stay clean for a little bit, right? And then all of a sudden, all you're doing is just staying clean. So what you do is you start to see, when life shows up, you start to see comfort in what you're used to. And for an addict with the disease of addiction, what we're used to is, okay, that bad thing just happened to me, or shit, that good thing just happened to me, whatever it is. And, you know, it's bad, oh, I gotta use. It's good, oh, I gotta use to celebrate. Whatever the fuck it is. It's sunny out, I gotta get high. It's, you know, it's raining out, I gotta get fucking drunk. Whatever it is. That's the insanity that which this step is going to get into. And it's important that we start to, it's talking about the need for faith and sanity, right? And here's where it's important for us to start to believe that there is help for us. We start to believe that we can be restored to sanity, right? In the sense of we can change our actions. For me, it's not so much about changing your thinking, because really, if you think about it, it's very hard to control your thoughts and your thinking. Like you could be talking to somebody and it could be about something like real serious. And then without you having any control, your head could just be like, hey, did you leave the stove on? Or, hey, is that thing still on sale at the store? And like it has nothing to do with the conversation you're in. And you couldn't control it. The thought just popped in your head and that's where you went with it, right? So we need to develop faith in something, right? For some people, that's a deity. It's a religious thing. For me, it's faith that there's something out here that can help me survive in this world without using drugs. And this is where step 2 comes in, right? We have a disease, progressive, incurable, and fatal. One way or another, we went out and bought our destruction on the time payment plan. All of us, from the junkie snatching purses to the sweet little old lady hitting 2 or 3 doctors for legal prescriptions. That's so crazy, right? Isn't it crazy how, like, society or the addict themselves, we can minimize what we've been doing, right? It's like, well, you know, I'm only drinking a half a bottle of Jack Daniels. I'm not going into a bad neighborhood and copping heroin. So, you know, I'm not as bad as that person, right? But come to find out, like, yo, you have so many similarities, it ain't even funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, that alcohol is destroying your ass just as much as that heroin is destroying the fucking junkie, right? And it's something that we got to come to terms with. But both of those things, it says, the junkie snatching person to the sweet little old lady hitting 2 or 3 doctors for legal prescriptions have one thing in common. We seek our destruction a bag at a time, a few pills at a time, or a bottle at a time, until we die. Right? How fucked up is that? How crazy is it? You talk about insanity. How insane is it to go out and seek destruction of yourself, and seek not only of yourself, but the destruction of those around you, all those people who love you and want to see you succeed? On a daily basis, your brain is thinking, how can we destroy us and them? How can we fuck with these people so bad that they don't even want nothing to do with us, right? And that sounds crazy because it is. Because here's the thing. What we don't realize when we're just getting clean, or when we're still focused on, like, okay, drugs are the problem, I just got to stop using drugs and everything will be good, right? When we're still focused on that, we don't see the self-centeredness of this thing. How fucking self-centered we are. How it's all about us. I don't care what I got to do. I don't care what you say to me, right? I got to have it, and I got to have it. Doesn't matter. I have to use. You're just in this mindset where, like, you will do whatever it takes, dude. You will do whatever it takes to get that next one, man. And that is fucking insane when you think about it, right? So, this is at least part of the insanity of addiction. The price may seem higher for the addict who prostitutes for a fix than it is for the addict who merely lies to a doctor. Ultimately, both pay for the disease with their lives. Insanity is repeating the same mistakes and expecting different results. Dude, my insanity runs deeper. And for most, that's like the standard definition that society knows of insanity, right? Doing something, expecting different results when you know that the results are always the same. So, but my shit runs even deeper, right? Instead of, like, repeating the same mistakes and expecting different results, I'll repeat the same mistakes, not even expecting different results. I already know the outcome to this shit. I know how this movie plays out because I've seen it 1,000 times. But here's the insanity. Even knowing that it's not going to be different, I still have to do it. There's something in the brain of an addict with the disease of addiction. No matter how many times you tell yourself, dude, this is going to end badly, your brain convinces you, no, not this time. No, not this time. Everything's going to work out. And the motherfucking shit never works out, right? Many of us realize when we get to the program, whatever 12-step program that is, like I said, that we have gone back time and again to using. Even though we knew that we were destroying our lives. Insanity is using drugs day after day, knowing that only physical and mental destruction comes when we use. You know what I mean? That's what I just said, man. It's a crazy thing, dude. You know, and it's like most of society and our friends and family around us, they take this view of it as, you know, like for instance, you can see this conversation happening between, let's say, like your uncle and your aunt, right? And your uncle says something like, I feel so bad for him, you know? He's just wrecking his life. And then like your aunt will say something back like, well, it's his choice. If he wanted to stop, he would stop, right? Like that's how most of society views. Like they don't view, a lot of people don't like to look at this shit like it's a disease. They'll come back at you with shit like, it's not a disease. A disease is like cancer or diabetes. That's real shit. That's stuff that people, you know, it just happened to them. You know, you're doing this on your own. You're going out and using drugs and drinking yourself to death because you want to. You know what I mean? They can't understand that, like, no, as I'm using the drug. See, for me, I came to a point in my active addiction where as I was literally using the drug or taking the fucking drink, I was saying to myself, I gotta stop. You know how fucking insane it is? For instance, this is coffee in this fucking mug, right? I want you to understand the process of the brain to somebody with the disease of addiction. And you go like this. You know what? I had enough coffee. I don't want no coffee. That coffee's fucking me up. And then something in your brain goes, nah, drink some more coffee. And you're like, no, I'm not going to drink the coffee. And then this thing comes off in your brain again. So as you're saying, I'm not going to drink that coffee, here goes your hand picking up the coffee. I'm not going to drink this coffee. Not today. Not today. All right, fuck, I'm going to drink coffee. And you're sitting there like disgusted with yourself. What the fuck? Why can't I stop? I don't even want to use no more. That's the insanity of it. And most people can't understand that. And dig this. The reality of it is, it isn't for them to understand. It's like, as long as we understand it and grasp the fact that we have a disease, right, that needs to be treated, right? Treated properly. Like for me, properly treating has nothing to do with medications or anything like that. Properly treating it is digging down deep within you to find out the exact nature of why you use, right? And that comes with some work. That takes things like, which we will get into in videos coming, you know, with the other steps. But that takes things like doing a fucking moral inventory of yourself, finding out your character defects, finding out why it is you react to certain things in life the way you do, right? So it's deeper, and it absolutely is a disease of the brain. There's no doubt in my mind. And guess what? Furthermore, there are a lot of very smart, intelligent people out in this world who have studied the brain of addicts for years. They made it their life's work, and they will tell you there is definitely a structure change within the brain of somebody with the disease of addiction, right? So here's the thing. The most obvious insanity of the disease of addiction is the obsession to use drugs. Ask yourself this question. Do I believe it would be insane to walk up to someone and say, may I please have a heart attack or a fatal accident? Yeah, fuck yeah, that'd be insane. If you can agree that this would be an insane thing, you should have no problem with the second step. It's like I was just talking about, man, with the coffee cup thing. It's the same thing, man. Like, because, like, when you're going out and consuming massive amounts of alcohol and putting drugs in your body, shit, to this day, I still smoke cigarettes, which is fucking killing me, but it's just like a slow death, right? That's insane, too. Like, you know what I mean? But it's a crazy thing, but it really is similar. When you go and you buy something to use, a drug or a drink or a pill, whatever it is, and at the time you're buying it, you don't even want to buy it because you know what it's doing to you, but yet you still do. It is similar. It's very similar to saying, hey, may I have a heart attack? You know, what's the difference between asking somebody for a heart attack or asking somebody for a bag of dope or let me get another bottle of Jack Daniels even though my fucking liver is failing at this point? Let me get it, right? Let me get that bag of heroin even though it could be fentanyl in there. And, you know, what's the difference between doing these things and asking for a heart attack? They're both just as fucking insane, right? In this program, the first thing we do is stop using drugs. That has to come first. At this point, we begin to feel the pain of living without drugs or anything to replace them, right? Because now you put the drug down and you're not self-medicating no more. And now all of a sudden, things like responsibility kick in, feelings, probably a lot of guilt and shame for the shit you've done. And most of all, bro, fear. Fear of the future, bro. And especially if you've tried to get clean or sober multiple times, and now you find yourself clean and sober for let's say, you know, a couple days or a couple weeks or like you in the back of your head, you're like, bro, you're gonna use again. You know what I mean? And you're afraid of it. Fear is a big problem, especially fear of the future, fear of what's to come. That's why most 12-step programs will tell you to just stay in today. Today is the only day that matters, right? Because when you start getting out into the future, here's the thing. When you find yourself living in the past or the future, you're fucked, bro. There's nothing good that comes from living in the past or the future. It's cool to plan for the future, but there's a difference between planning for it and living in it, right? That whole fear of what's to come when it didn't even come yet, you know? Anyway, the pain forces us to seek a power greater than ourselves that can relieve our obsession to use. The process of coming to believe is similar for most addicts. Most of us lack a working relationship with a higher power. We begin to develop this relationship by simply admitting to the possibility of a power greater than ourselves. Most of us have no trouble admitting that addiction had become a destructive force in our lives. Our best efforts resulted in ever greater destruction and despair. At some point, we realized that we needed the help of some power greater than our addiction. Here's the thing with that. When I come in contact with people, and where I work, I come in contact with a lot of people that are using. Like, you know, they're outside of my store or whatever it is. Maybe they're trying to get change, you know. And, you know, I don't judge them, bro, because I remember doing that shit, bro. I remember doing whatever it took to get one. But I try to, you know, when I come across somebody and ask them about, hey, did you ever try a meeting? Did you ever try the 12-step program and go to them meetings? One of the first things they say to me, and I'm telling you, it's one of the first things they come with me is this. Well, I'm not really religious. You know, I don't like the whole God thing. And then, like, I feel a responsibility, especially as somebody who's not religious in a 12-step program, because I ain't religious at all. I make it a point to tell them, like, yo, well, that's okay, you're not cool with the God thing, because, you know, it doesn't have to be about that. It's like, for me, the power is in the group. My higher power is Narcotics Anonymous as a whole. That's it. There's a power within a group of people who have what they call a wordless language of recognition, which we call empathy, right? When you can be around a group of people who are trying to do the same thing you're trying to do, and that can relate to you, right? There's a healing in that. That's how we heal around here. You know what I mean? And for me, that is the God. That is the higher power. But dig this, on the flip side of that, that higher power, that God, that can be a deity. That can be a religious thing. Religious can be very powerful for some people, man. It can help you get by. It really can. And I believe it's important, whether it's on a religious thing or just on a group level like it is for me. You have to have something that's more powerful than you, because dig this, man, your addiction is more powerful than you. So you need something more powerful than it, which is a support group, man. Support group, or it could be Jesus. It could be Allah. It could be Buddha. Whatever it is, dude, you have to find it. And when it comes down to, it's more of, how about, let's just recognize that you're not God, right? You're not God. You're not powerful enough to beat this on your own. And I'm pointing in my brain because that's where your disease is, all right? Anyway, our understanding of a higher power is up to us. No one is going to decide for us. We can call it the group, the program, or we can call it God. The only suggested guidelines are that this power be loving, caring, and greater than ourselves. All right? We don't have to be religious to accept this idea. The point is that we open our minds to believe. We may have difficulty with this, but by keeping an open mind, sooner or later, we find the help we need. So here's my experience with this. I started to believe, right, when I first got clean and I was coming around, and I started hearing people share that had like 10 years, 20 years clean. And I'm sitting there with like fucking 30 days clean, right? Thinking, how the fuck am I gonna stay clean? And even maybe even thinking like, yo, these people sitting around me might be bullshitting a little bit. Really? Like, that dude that's saying he got 20 years clean, was he really as bad as me? He was probably just smoking a fucking joint. You know what I mean? He wasn't eating out of trash cans and doing heroin like me, man. But see, what happened was, I started to realize that when I heard people talking, and I realized, no, that fucking dude is really, he's not bullshit, right? His addiction was real, and I got to stop minimizing it. And then it's, you know, I'm like, yo, he's got 20 years clean. So that started to give me fucking hope. That was one of the things that gave me hope. And then along the way, I started to see people coming in broken and hopeless, right? Talking about, I got one day. And then like a month later, you see that same person smiling a little bit more. They look like they cleaned up a little bit, and they're getting a 30-day key tag. And then you see them get a 60-day key tag. And you're like, oh shit, there is a power here, bro. Very powerful, right? Here we go. We talked and listened to others. We saw other people recovering. And they told us what was working for them. We began to see evidence of some power that could not be fully explained. And it is weird. Think about this. I've been clean now for 7 years. Before I got clean, I destroyed my family, bro. I couldn't take care of my kids right. I mean, it was all fucked up, dude. All fucked up. But here's the thing. It's so crazy how you can have your wife, your husband, your kids, just in your face, begging you to stop using because you're fucking everything up, dude, right? Just begging you. It could be like your grandmom on her fucking deathbed saying, my last wish is for you to just get clean. And you know what I mean? And like those things couldn't keep us clean, right? But you get around a room full of recovering addicts, and through hearing them share, and not only that, eventually you will literally hear your like exact story come out of somebody else's mouth, right? And that's when you find out that you're not unique. And when you find out you're not unique, then you start to really think, maybe there is something else going on besides drug use. Maybe my brain, maybe the structure of my brain actually has changed. And I need to do work on a deeper level than just stop using, right? All that shit starts to come along with as you're coming to believe. Remember that this step says we came to believe. Not like we just believed. We came to believe. In other words, it's a process. We start to believe through evidence that we see. You understand what I'm saying? All right. Confronted with this evidence, we began to accept the existence of a power greater than ourselves. We can use this power long before we understand it. As we see coincidence and miracles happening in our lives, acceptance becomes trust. At some point, I remember when I started to trust the process of this 12-step program that I joined. I started to trust the process, man. Because like even in the beginning, I could see little changes. How about dumb shit like, yo, that $20 that I had in my pocket on Wednesday, I still have it and it's Friday. That's crazy. Ain't no motherfucking way a $20 bill was lasting 2 days of my active addiction, bro. That shit wasn't lasting a minute. How about, damn, it's been like 3-4 months that I've been clean and I got the same phone number. Dude, I used to have a new phone number like 20 times a year. Because, you know, the month will come up where you got to pay the bill and you're like, oh, well, shit, you know. I got to get this bottle. I can't pay the phone. I got to get this bag. I can't pay the phone, right? And then once you got a big enough score, you would get a phone again and you'd have a new fucking phone number. So I started seeing things like that. Yo, I still got money in my pocket from a couple of days before. Yo, I still got this fucking same phone number. Like little things you see, but it makes you start to trust the process. Like, yo, something's happening here, man. You know what I mean? We grow to feel comfortable with our higher power as a source of strength. As we learn to trust this power, we begin to overcome our fear for life. Let me tell you, man, we have a saying in our program. And it's probably in almost every 12-step program, I would imagine. And it says this: pain shared is pain lessened. Right? And I'll say this. I think it works with fear too. Right? Fear shared is fear lessened. Right? Fear is a big part of the disease of addiction. Fear is a big part of just being a fucking human being without the disease of addiction. You understand what I'm saying? So many people have no idea how fear is running their life. You can't even kind of equate the two. You can't. There's situations in your life that you don't even see it as, well, this was a fear-based decision or a fear-based non-decision. But I can assure you it was. It's fucking crazy, dude. But fear runs so many of our lives. And for a recovering addict, for somebody with the disease of addiction, fear is a bitch, man. It's a real thing. You know, they got this thing where it's like FEAR, right? Fear means fuck everything and run. Fuck everything and run. Because for most addicts, we'd rather just run, or we'd rather just self-medicate this shit away. I'd rather just try to solve this problem with a whole other problem. Fear's a bitch, man. The process of coming to believe restores us to sanity. The strength to move into action comes from this belief. We need to accept this step to start on the road to recovery. When our belief has grown, we are then ready for step 3. And that's the end of that step. I can tell you, in the beginning of this, it talked about some of us skipped over this step with minimal concern, right? Because you're just like, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, I gotta believe. See, for me, when I was first coming around, it was like, yeah, I gotta, because I was raised Catholic, right? Yeah, I gotta believe in God, and, you know, here it is. Here's the cult, right? This is where I started to think, and this is before I started to actually work the step. I'm thinking, okay, here it comes, you know, the whole religious thing. Here comes the cult, right? I'm about to get brainwashed up in this motherfucker, right? And so it was. I kind of just minimal concern. I didn't really internalize what the words were saying, right? And so I worked step 2, which, and I'll just put this out there. Working a step is basically this. You will get a sponsor when you come into a 12-step meeting. Now, a sponsor isn't somebody who sponsors you monetarily wise. A sponsor is somebody who's been clean for a while and who has engaged in this process of the 12 steps, right? So they know their shit, basically. They've been through it. And all they do is guide you through it, right? Your sponsor really can become a very good friend. It's almost like, you know, a spiritual guide. You can call it that, if you will, right? It's somebody that you put trust in and you share with them on a daily basis, or maybe on a weekly basis, whatever it is, what you're going through, what you're experiencing, how your day was. It doesn't even got to be about anything like, hey, I feel like getting high today, man. I call my sponsor just on some, yo, what are you up to, man? What are you doing? You know what I mean? You're just kind of like checking in. But it's another way of showing that relationship between you and a sponsor is another thing that's more powerful than you. 2 is greater than 1. Period. Even if you want to look at it as simple as that. 2 is greater than 1, right? So I can tell you that my belief in this program has grown crazy. Dude, I've seen people come in here, walk into a recovery house with a trash bag of clothes, bro. And then they engage in this process. And they don't just sit in meetings and just stay clean. No, I'm talking about engaging. They get a sponsor. They realize I've entered a 12-step program. I think I better do these 12 steps, right? And they engage. And you see that same person like 5 years later, bought their own house, got a nice car, about to get married. Dude, it's the craziest shit ever, right? And I know like monetary shit comes and goes, but it's still a thing to see somebody coming in broken like that with a trash bag of clothes, and fast forward 5 years, and guess what, man? Those people will sit there and they will tell you it's all due to this. I would have never been able to not only stay clean but change. It was me starting to trust in this process, and through trusting in the process and the group or the God of my understanding, I am coming to believe that I can be restored to sanity, meaning that I can start to react to life better. It's about your actions, right? I can develop a pause and not react so fast and sit back and think about something before I do it. Become less obsessive with something. Become less compulsive with something. Run it by some people. I'm starting to believe that this power can work for me. That's what it was for me. Here I am 7 years later. I'm actually just did a second step. I'm on my second time around these steps with my sponsor. I just completed another second step. And my understanding of it has grown immensely. man. Anyway, I hope you got something out of that. You know what I mean? And if anything, I really would like to just stress, this isn't a religious thing, man. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And for those people out there that think a lot of them 12-step meetings, it's all about that cult type of religious shit, it's really not. It's not at all. I mean, if it was, I wouldn't be here. Because, like, between you and me, I don't even believe in God. As far as a deity, even though I was raised Catholic, right? I just think on, like, a universal kind of level, like, life is random, good shit happens, bad shit happens. You know what I mean? But, for instance, my sponsor is highly religious. He's religious as fuck. And guess what? I love him to death. And he loves me. And when we sit there talking about higher power and faith and trust and hope, right? You would think we're talking about the same thing. I'm just talking about the group. He's talking about an actual deity. And the group, to be honest. He's got like a mixture, right? Anyway. I'm done, dude. I just hope everybody out there has a good day. And if you're struggling, man, I can only hope that you put the drug down for a minute, right? If you have to, if you got a physical withdrawal thing going on, a particular drug you're doing, you know, don't be afraid to enter a fucking rehab, man. Enter a rehab, dude. Get it out. Let them comfortably get you off the drug while you're in the rehab. Give yourself a couple fucking days or a couple weeks to think straight, right? But once you come out of there, or once you put the drug down, come to a 12-step program, dude. Whatever one you want. There's like 50 of them, dude. There's 50 of them, man. Seriously. You got a problem with porn? There's a 12-step program for you. You got a problem with fucking shopping for shit you don't need to the point where you can't even pay your bills? There's a 12-step program for you, dude. Right? Because really, the reality of it is, it's all about coming to the exact nature of the addiction that you're currently caught up in. And shit, for some of us, it could actually be a person. Huh? How about a 12-step program? How about applying a 12-step program to that fucking toxic-ass relationship you've been into? Anyway, I'm going to end this like I end them all. Just remember this. The disease of addiction is broad, and it's outside of the realm of just using drugs. Keep coming back. More will be revealed. I'm out of here.